Tonight I'm going to be reading something from this. Make It a Double. 2 short stories by Zimmerman. Missionary's downfall. She hadn't the slightest clue that I was going to leave her, and in some strange way that made her more beautiful than ever. She was a witch, and she was magic, pure black magic. And with her black magic, she conjured up tears and caused black mascara to run down her tequila-tinged face like wet roads cutting through rolling desert hills. I was at a loss for words. I cut in my medium rare steak with the precision of a surgeon. At the Crest, you could get a steak dinner with a baked potato, all the fixings included, a salad for $7.99. It was the best deal in town. I slowly chewed and washed the meat down with some cheap bourbon. She stared into her dirty martini, and the cocktail olive stared back at her like a sickly green, bloodshot eyeball as black tears tumbled off her face onto her tits and into her lap. I just don't... It's for the best, I said, cutting her off. I never felt so cold in my life, and before I knew it, empty glasses had multiplied like rabbits upon our table. But time was standing still for us. She was still there, melting away into a black pool of tears, and no matter how much I cut at my steak and washed mouthfuls down with bourbon, the meat on my plate remained. But the glasses on the table continued to grow like a Tower of Babel, and I, the mighty hunter, a modern-day Nimrod who stood in defiance of God, began to have doubts. So I silently shouted into the abyss that is me in search of some reassurance. I shouted until a voice answered back. Do not forget! You have prostrated yourself before the woman, bowing down to her unfair demands while desperately screaming into this abyss more times than suckers on an octopus's arms. I nodded to myself in agreement. I wasn't going to fall for her tricks, her black magic. But the shouts began to multiply and echo, bouncing off the walls and the dark chambers of my cold heart, overwhelming me and pulling me under the black sea that her tears had become, until I came to and gave myself a slap. Snap out of it, you son of a bitch, I muttered to myself. What did you say to me? She shot back. The bourbon had gone to my head and I needed to straighten myself out. Quickly, I got up from the orange vinyl booth, which made the sound of rubbing 2 balloons together, and drunkenly barreled on over to the jukebox where I played a Waylon Jennings' Rainy Day Woman. I waded through the tears and sat back down and paid the bill. Licking my thumb, I counted out the tip, and as I laid it down on the table, my song came on. I followed Anne out the back exit, and the last thing I heard before I stepped out of the bar was Waylon's reverberated cry. That woman of mine, she ain't happy till she finds something wrong and someone to blame. If it ain't one thing, it's another thing on the way. We closed the car doors and everything went silent. We were shut off from the world, and as she spoke, I tried my best to hold on to old Waylon's words. You're a real piece of work, she sneered, a real stinking bastard. Avoiding eye contact like a guilty dog, I managed to bark out 2 words. I'm sorry. How can you do this? Shrugging, I started the engine and headed for home. From A to B, I could feel her eyes on me. It felt like she was trying to put out an everlasting cigarette on my right temple. There was a continuous bacon-in-a-pan sizzle and the aroma of my burnt flesh, mixed with the sharp stench of alcohol oozing from our pores, filling the car. The little black ice pine tree was swinging to and fro from the rear view like rotting fruit and was about as useful as a dead corpse. She was bubbling over with anger. She had drinks in her. A storm was brewing. We stumbled into the house where I threw some things into a soft leather bag and headed for the door. But she blocked my path from the bedroom. Step aside, Anne, I commanded, followed by not quite as stern. Don't do this. I stepped back and sat down on our bed, a box spring and a period blood semen-stained mattress on the floor in the corner of the room, and let out a sigh. Anne, I'm leaving, and nothing is going to change that. For her? That chum dumpster? Is that what you want? Some filthy, obscenity-sucking whore bitch? I'm not going to do this with you. You're such a pathetic little piece of obscenity. You son of a bitch. You. I don't love you anymore. I blurted out the top of my lungs. She marched towards me like some kind of one-woman death procession. You pathetic little sack of obscenity, she shrieked while yanking the prescription glasses off of my face and snapping them in half like a twig. I was blind without my glasses. So naturally, I flew into a blind rage. Standing up and grabbing her by the shoulders, I swung her around and pushed her down on the bed, where I jumped on top of her and proceeded to wrap my hands around her pretty and oh so delicate little neck. I began to squeeze hard. We had been in this position many times, with me on top of her, sweating like a pig, while staring deep into her black doll eyes. Sure, sometimes I would choke her for fun. She liked that sort of thing. She would moan and call me daddy. She was my baby, and now I was choking her for real. I was choking my baby. I'd never been physical with her before, and I never really respected or understood the power a man could physically exert over a woman until this moment in time. Her life was truly in my hands, and I knew it. I could easily end her life. I screamed at her as the tears rolled down her blue face with my knuckles white and the veins in my arms pulsating like I was gripping the hell out of a steering wheel in a car that was careening towards oncoming traffic. I'll obscenity kill you, you obscenity bitch! You goddamn obscenity! I growled. And just like that, as I had taken a stranglehold on her, fear wrapped its hands around my pathetic red neck and began to squeeze back. I will never forget the terrified look in her eyes, the look of acceptance, and the sadness as her light began to fade. My God, what was I doing, I thought to myself. How has it gone this far? And as I sat there on top of her, horrified, contemplating my fall from grace, I slowly loosened my grip and crawled off of her. And with a shaky voice I tried to speak, but before I could apologize, a fire raged inside of her, and she summoned the forces of hell to bubble up and over out of the depths of her womb from whence she carried and birthed my children. And in a low, otherworldly voice, with the sadness of 1,000,000 broken homes and the white, hot anger of entire generations of women scorned, past, future, and present, she bellowed like a demon and roared, I obscenity hate you! She pushed past me and ran towards the display case where I kept my coveted tiki mug collection. She grabbed an armful of my precious ceramic mugs, kicked open the door, and in the middle of the night she began to chuck them out into the front yard towards the street while shouting, I obscenity hate you, over and over at the top of her lungs, like a goddamn broken record. A rare Don the Beachcomber tiki mug bust shot to oblivion, head cracked upon the sidewalk. A Trader Sam's limited edition desecrated and broken into shards of worthless obscenity. And to imagine, I used to carefully drink painkillers out of that obscenity. Painkillers, and prepared for us on warm summer nights. I would drink them down like a fish, and afterwards bite on her neck, nibble on her ear, and lap at her nipples and in between her legs like a hungry and thirsty puppy. And brother, we would obscenity, would we ever, and now it was all obscenity. All of it. I thought about stopping her for a good second before realizing she was owed this. I should not and could not stop this. I went as far as shushing her and waving my hands in a downward motion for her to keep it down. And the neighbors are going to call the cops, I whispered with a broken voice before altogether giving up and relegating myself to watching my expensive, hard-earned collection obliterated. Passionately, she continued to destroy tiki mugs like a goddamn Terminator of kitsch memorabilia. I was utterly helpless to stop it, and even though she was right-handed, she was pitching them with her left hand like Sandy Obscenity Koufax, the goddamn left hand of God, winding up and casting insignificant little pagan tiki gods into the lonely night, shattering them and scattering them into millions of tiny pieces like fallen stardust sprinkled all over our dead Chinaman yellow lawn, the speckled black chewing gum sidewalk, and the usually quiet and empty suburban street we lived on. All the while she did this, while belting out her Amazonian cry of, I obscenity hate you! Over and over until she came across one particular tiki mug that refused to break. She growled furiously, stomping out the front door towards the sidewalk where she picked up the mug and threw it down on the ground again. Still, it would not break apart. Sure, the paint was chipping a little here and there, but it wasn't giving her the satisfaction of breaking into nothing. I'd hoped she would give up, that this lone mug would survive her tirade, but huffing and puffing, she picked it up and slammed it on the concrete again and again, until it was lost and forever and always merely just a broken memory. She eventually finished off my entire tiki mug collection, but her bloodlust for breaking obscenity was not satisfied. She ran to the back of the house, where she had a small wine rack, and kicking open the door, she began lobbing the wine bottles into our backyard. Tink, boing, doing! They bounced around and rolled like tennis balls all over the backyard. It was a goddamn fermented grape holocaust. And as she continued to throw wine bottles in the backyard, screeching like a banshee beneath an ill-lit back porch lit with porch light swarming with mosquito hawks, I walked into my bedroom and put on an old backup pair of prescription glasses that held the right temple together at the hinges with the safety pin. And with my pathetic ass backup glasses upon my face, I walked out the front door, surveyed the damage done to my tiki mugs, climbed in my car, and drove west towards the hazy lights of the downtown Los Angeles skyline. A few STDs later, after shacking up in some Skid Row loft with an evil whore, and after threatening to blow my brains out with a K98K bolt-action Nazi Mauser rifle, which led to a 5150 stint in the loony bin, I found myself back home. Anne took me back. She forgave me. She fought for me and won me over. I didn't deserve her. She had spent many nights crying over warm wine that had slightly turned and cold, expired, lean cuisines. Naturally, things were really rough at first when I returned home, but eventually everything went back to normal, for lack of a better word. Our normal, that is. And to this very day, there will be times when I come home from work, broken and tired, and while I am walking the short path to our front door from the street where I park, a small, glossy, paint-coated ceramic shard from one of my long-gone tiki mugs will catch my eye. Lying there in the dirt and hidden in the dead Chinaman yellow grass, a piece of mug from Frankie's Tiki Rooms will catch the light of a bright and brilliant California sun, causing it to glisten, making me squint and wince, reminding me of the night we both went absolutely mad from love. But I will soldier on, running up the steps and through the door, wheezing to where she lies naked with a glass of cheap table wine. My eyelids will be heavy and my blood pressure high, far too high for a young man my age, and with my fat belly hanging over my jeans in defeat like a bloated white flag of surrender, she will give herself to me with my manhood barely intact, scarred and deformed from my own indiscretions. She will love me. She will crawl to me with a naive longing in her eyes, one hand tugging at my leather belt, begging for a mouthful of obscenity and tummy full of chum. I will gladly serve her a warm spoonful, and then I will mount her and attempt to give her what I have left. It isn't much. Afterwards, we will fall asleep with my flaccid member against her juicy and fat brown bare ass while listening to a queer rain fall on a hot summer night. Thank you. Good night.
Hi, I'm Dee Dee McToy, and I am so pleased to be here to tell you about some of my favorite things that are toys. This is just one of my things, so we'll start with that. Now, there's a lot to do this evening. This involves many different colors and items that we actually put in water. We're going to put them in water and have them turn into these really cute little animals. There you go. Okay, so let's start with the back of it. There are 18 animals. These little foam shapes just blossom into these animals. They look like pills, but don't eat them. We're going to start with, I don't know, I like red, so we're going to put the red one in here. And you just drop it in. And maybe it needs to sink, so we better swirl it around gently. Okay, let's see. Supposedly, the gelatin capsule will like just disintegrate, and then the foam shape should like burst out and become an animal. And let's see if it says how many minutes it takes. I doubt it. Let's see. It's in French, which doesn't help at all. So I know a little French. It just says, oh, it says in a few minutes in French, which in English might be a lot more than a few minutes. Okay, it will form an animal. That's what it says. So far, nothing. I don't know what you can do in the meantime, but I'm sure you can think of a few things. You could put the laundry in and then come back and just check it again. Watch these 12 safari animal shapes appear with an exclamation point. So far they're not really appearing, but we're going to wait. Then in French it says you will see 12 animals de safari forming apparaître. I don't know. That might mean it takes a while. They just show you the silhouette of the animal. They are mostly jungle animals, I think. So we're just going to have to discuss other things about the package. How's that? There are 4 colors, so just pick your favorite and go with that. It doesn't say if the yellow is the monkey or the blue is the hippo. You are just going to be so shocked either way. Doing some swirling. I thought that would help. Maybe faster swirling. Not too much going. You know what? I think we should just open the capsule. How about that? I am going to break all the rules. Don't tell them. All right, here we go. It just looks like another capsule, but we're going to fix that. Okay, we're going to get rid of the capsule shape, and we're going to, oh, you unroll it. How clever. Okay, this, you have to unroll it, and I see a trunk. It looks like an elephant, and I think it is. Here you go. It's very small, so I don't know what you could use it for, but we'll talk about that at the end of the show. Okay, so we have that. Let's open another one. Let's do the green. We're going to turn our capsule, take the shell. You'll never get it back in the shell, by the way, so don't even try that. Maybe this is the monkey. That's what it is. That's the monkey, and it's green. Okay. We have to swirl. They don't seem to sink, but we want to see if they absorb the water and become a giant elephant. Make room, because it might just expand. Okay, some swirling, that will always help. Actually, this really doesn't look like it's doing anything. You know what, I'm just going to put my hands in there. There's nothing else to do. We've got to do it. All right, I'm squeezing this like a sponge. Okay, now we're going to sink the monkey. That could be a new song. Sinking the monkey, and I hope it expands. Let's see if the monkey is available. All right, let's see. His arms are kind of stuck, but I think that looks like a monkey. Do you? It's got a curly tail like a monkey, but otherwise it looks like a frog. Let's try the blue. We're going to open it. The heck with the capsule. Okay, this looks like maybe a dinosaur. Let me see if that's one of the selections on my card. It is, oh, The anteater. How could I have gotten that wrong? I just wonder, in maybe like an hour, are these things just gonna start coming out of the glassware? You really don't know. It doesn't even tell you what the sizes will be. You just have to guess and have fun with it. So make room in the room that you're in, just in case. Get rid of all furniture, anything that can be broken, in case they are just going to multiply and divide. They might. I think that we're going to need a lot more time. So set them up, let them stay overnight, and in the morning you will be surprised as always. So that's it. That's our first toy of the day. I'm Dee Dee McToy, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello, sir.
Hey, Norm.
Of course you can sit at my table. Cheers.
Cheers.
That is some delicious water.
It is.
And what is your name, sir?
I'm Joel.
Joel? I'm Norm.
I'm Norm. I kind of. You're Norm. I'm Joel.
Norm.
Yeah.
You're Joel.
You look like a Norm.
I do look like a Norm.
You're very much Norm.
I am told this by everyone
Who meets you?
that I meet, yes. Without question of failure, that is a 100% ratio of people who tell me that I look like a Norm.
Yeah. Do you like Norm's, the restaurant?
Actually, I have fallen out of love with Norms. I have gone in there to numerous of their locations, all multiple times, asking if I could get a discount based on the fact that my
That
name
your name is Norm.
is Norm. I have been turned down also 100% of the time. This also might be because sometimes I get blackout drunk and end up at some of these Norms location, and sometimes I might vomit on the front door or inside on one of the booths, and then I don't remember, and then I go back asking for the discount. Some of them have tried to give me a cleaning bill, but of course I can't be held responsible for things that I do when I am not, when surely you've had this happen to you before, right, where you just...
I'm a little drunk right now. Not drunk enough to throw up on this table. I think the worst place I threw up at, as far as a restaurant goes, was one of these hibachi joints where they have and I threw up all over
the stove,
the grill with the food,
oh.
and I just, and it was sizzling.
Cheers to that,
Yeah,
sir.
cheers.
Yes, that is epic. Better that
Keep it a
all of
surprise.
them go out of business
All of them go out of
in
business.
the local area, so that we can make way for more prestigious restaurants like Applebee's and
Chili's.
Mimi's Cafe.
Mimi's is due for a comeback, I think. Remember Coco's?
Yes,
I saw a lady shit herself at Coco's once.
really.
Ruined the dining experience.
I can imagine. Yeah, that is, it's one of those, I've never shit in public. Like, having a moment where I just lose my bowels in a public place, uncontrollable fits of shitting.
There has to be a point, you think, where when you begin to shit yourself, not voluntarily, but you think at some point you just go with it, or you think it's just a battle trying to stop the shit from happening, or do you think at some point once you start shitting yourself you just kind of embrace it?
Yeah, well, I mean, at a certain point I suppose you have to, but there is usually, in my experience, a little bit of lead up that might prompt you to seek shelter inside of a restroom stall, or at least maybe back in the kitchen where fewer people will see you, defile yourself in such a way.
Light and airy.
So where else have you been kicked out of, unbeknownst to yourself, in recent memory?
Where have I been kicked out of? I got kicked out of. I've been kicked out of a few bars. I perform a lot around the LA area, and I've been kind of banned from a few spots. Tipping over trash cans, spilling beer on the dance floor, usual.
Yeah.
Trying to fight the bouncer, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Typical shit.
I was forcibly removed from the Frolic Room next door to the Pantages
Oh,
Theater.
that's a good place to be kicked out of.
I was informed of this the following day. Normally, when these things happen, I feel very remorseful, and I apologize if I have wronged someone. But on this occasion, I reverted to fits of near pants shitting laughter because fuck that place. For all of eternity. I don't care. I only wish that I could be kicked out of there again.
Well, you can if you go
And-
back. Do you think they'll remember you?
I can only hope that they would, but not before I had an opportunity to get kicked out for the same reason as before.
Do you think they have your picture up in the back room?
I don't know. That was a few years ago, but I think this warrants a mission, new friend. Would you like to come with me to the Frolic Room?
Yeah, let's go frolic.
And we can maybe both get kicked out again.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
And then for you for the first time.
Yeah, that'd
And
be
then
great.
maybe we can get Thai food afterwards.
That sounds excellent.
We should just sit here awkwardly after having made our plan in silence, contemplatively.